here's a typical way the CCP curates distractions. Recently, a highway collapsed in Guangzhou and after rainfall, and it's been the biggest news across Chinese social media. At least 48 have passed, but likely higher. And according to reports, another 3 people requires further DNA comparison before it is verified. So it's unclear if these 48 also includes those 3 that need DNA verification or not. But still, the news suddenly just disappeared because internet censors moved on to put another tragedy into the viral searches, which is a 21-year-old who offed himself after he broke up with his online girlfriend, a streamer who he gifted over 5,000 yuan to. But that news happened almost a month before the highway tragedy. While this isn't to downplay either case, that's just how the Chinese regime handles online public opinion. Now, let's first talk about the highway collapse. After heavy rainfall earlier this month, a highway in southern China collapsed, leading to 20-plus cars falling downhill. Officials say that there were 48 victims, but I believe it is likely higher, as some sources told me that they're keeping the family silent. Only if they comply with the authorities' requests and requirements will they actually get added to that declaration of the victims. If not, then that number stays the same. Now, what is evil is that this highway is likely the result of poor construction quality, Tofu Dreg projects, this cutting corner, and city officials did not close down the route even after heavy rainfall. Now, the total project contract for this particular highway was about 2.1 billion yuan, or 291 million US dollars. Now, the officials had earned about 800 million yuan in the process, and the middlemen took away 400 million yuan. So the remaining 800 was actually dispersed to various leaders and departments. And so by the end, there was very little actual amount of budget for the road purposes. So how this project sustained and still remained intact, I guess you'd be very thankful for the construction workers who actually put their heart into putting this project together, given how little amount of money was remaining in this project. This is not just a 1 in 1,000 really good projects, but in fact, this is thousands of the same type of tofu drag that continues to happen in China. Now, many, of course, were fortunately saved from falling down that collapsed part when a large truck had parked near the broken portion, which was to stop further cars from going near it. A typical behavior of the CCP is to cover up the truth about the incident, and it's still unclear what really happened. Now, of course, it's likely never going to be revealed, but later I'll show you some of the cross-sections and why we think that's actually a tofu drag project. Now, just for context, any number of victims above 30 is considered something called a severe incident in China, just for categorization, and that's according to their regulations. So the number, of course, is also clearly tied to the achievements and potential advancement of career for that CCP official in the area. And so this number that we hear, the 48, is a carefully massaged number after it's approved for public release. And the real number, well, the number in itself is often downplayed. And a Chinese report actually interviewed one of the survivors of the incident, but it was quickly deleted after it was published for just a little bit over 2 hours. From this aerial shot, we also see that the road definitely needs repairs to begin with. We see cracks along the road. Of course, cracks are nothing new, but if that portion of the road is actually sitting on a slanted hillside, then you need extra support for that portion. And it needs to keep the road steady, right, for various things. And plus, this isn't an area that's known to have floods, to have landslides. So for construction purposes, it needs to be solidified and fortified. Now, from a side view here, we don't actually see any support structure like rebars or tie bars, which is, of course, very normal for asphalt road. But again, because this is on a hill, there needs to be more support for this particular portion. Now, below the pavement here is also interesting because it's been pointed out that the subbase looks rather shallow. And when a landslide happens, it seems like the entire portion of it collapsed with it. Now, it's also a man-made error to not close down the highway during heavy rainfall, as local farmers had reported saying that there's a duck farm down the slope, and they did not dare to go near the area for 3 days prior to this tragedy, knowing how dangerous it could be after the rain as there's flood, and they actually also suffered a lot of problems at the farm. And so for some reason they didn't close this portion of the road. Again, that's just very beyond my imagination, knowing that the area has problems with the natural disasters. And according to Chinese regulations, highway entrances and exits actually have security cameras that will easily be able to track how many cars have passed by. So for them not giving us a complete account for the total victims is still a mystery in itself. Does the CCP government not have that data, or do they not want to have that data? Either way, it's a bad look because this is clearly another one of those natural disasters. Started out with one, gone extremely bad due to human errors. Now, this is followed, of course, by the CCP control and censorship apparatus. And this time, however, something worse happened. The CCP used another tragedy to try to cover this one up. So before we continue, if you're looking for a new way to boost your alertness throughout your workday, consider checking out this Canadian-made red ginseng extract from Gen X. After using it, I noticed that I'm less tired throughout the day, and I'm yawning way less than before. It's especially useful to replace your extra cups of coffee in the morning. Now, it's very easy to use. I just take a few drops in the morning, drink a glass of water after that, and my friends have also told me that they felt less tired and more alert throughout the day. So check out the link in the description and get yours today. All right, let's continue. In April this year, a 21-year-old man offed himself after his online girlfriend broke up with him. He was a game booster, meaning that he helped other players achieve certain game levels or ranks on their account, and he made some money doing that. He had given this girl a total of 510,000 yuan, or that's about 70,000 US dollars, and they were set to marry in May, but until, of course, she broke up with him. And this man's online name is Fat Cat. His story has become the hottest discussion topic, with many people sending him flowers and KFC chicken burgers to the location. Now, his online profile, Fat Cat, says, "I don't want to eat veggies, just KFC." This tragedy, it happened back in April, like I said, but it suddenly got boosted to the #1 hot search topic on Weibo, just days after the highway collapse incident happened. Now, this was the man's sister who checked his phone later after his death to find out he had been transferring this huge sum of money to the girl. And what basically he would do is save money for himself, like he would eat on less than $2 a day, only often vegetarian meals, and hence why online his name says no veggies, just KFC. I guess it's a desire to actually taste the meat of chicken. But many were speculating that the simping had gone wrong, and that the girl was actually never in love with him, and the fact that it was just using him for money. So many people even started to speculate that the girl had gaslighted the guy into doing this, but ultimately it's a scam. So it's very sad, of course, that a 21-year-old is gone. And clearly this is what to hide what is happening in the other case, because like I said, this case took place on April 11th, and the sister had actually been advocating for some justice for her brother ever since then. And it's been more than 2 weeks, but the incident itself never took off in terms of virality on Chinese social media, until it suddenly exploded in popularity on May 3rd, which is just 2 days after the highway incident happened. So then the girl in the question came out, she apologized, saying that she didn't spend all of the 510,000 yuan, that she only spent about 350,000, and the rest was given back to the victim's family. And then following that, over 100 different food and beverage shops actually also came out to apologize. Why would they apologize? Well, it turns out after internet users felt really sad and sympathetic to the guy, they started ordering all sorts of takeouts to the location where the guy offed himself. But then when they actually arrived, they were empty inside, or it should have been takeout like food or drinks, say a bubble tea. It was replaced with a cup of water. And so that became a second wave of anger explosion online, because internet users felt like they were cheated and felt like really bad for the guy, because even after his passing, a food delivery would still scam him. So that feeling. And so this further pushed the topic to #1. And so that's when the 100+ shops started to apologize. Now, the CCP has used this in the past, which is to use one scandal to cover up the other one. And it's often, in the past, it's used with celebrity-related scandals. Things like this guy was involved in some sort of an incident, male celebrity, female star, etc., like that. But then when a social incident happens in China, now it seems like they will use another tragedy to overshadow this one. And that's just ridiculous. So, of course, we know that scamming people isn't new in China. I basically dedicate a portion of this channel exposing that. China fakes everything. But, shops scamming people also isn't new. So technically, there's no uniqueness to the case of this 21-year-old Fat Cat, other than that it's just a tragedy in itself. However, on Weibo, at one point, the top 18 search topics were all related to Fat Cat. How is that even possible to happen organically, given the fact that this highway incident is a much bigger issue at play, and it's more recent, and it's just being brushed aside? And so it's likely that internet censors manipulated the topics, which happens on every social media. That's what they hire some people to do. But then when this is a decision from the government, the Chinese Communist Party, deliberately trying to control the topics to, in their eyes, it's to rule stability, that's when it becomes a huge problem. And so that's basically the state of China today. Chinese internet users can only see what the government wants them to see. Topics just disappear like it's smokes, and I guess it vanishes into thin air. And then people just start to pretend like it didn't happen. And then until it passes its time, which is usually 2 weeks, and then things just kind of go back to normal again. Of course, tragedies continue to happen in China. They're not going to stop, and things are just going to be this way. So expect more cover-ups of something else. Anyways, that's it today for the episode on how China is using one tragedy to cover up another. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like, comment below your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, bye-bye.